Hi, I'm Heather from Heather Handmade. Welcome back to my channel. Today I am going to teach you how to make a bucket hat, or you can call it a sun hat, with a free sewing pattern. You can get the free sewing pattern on my blog. The link is in the description. This hat is great for shading your face and your head when it's hot outside. It's great for working in the yard or hiking or, being at the beach. It's just a really great summer hat. It's also a fairly easy project. It's a great way to start making hats because all of the seams are enclosed. You don't see any of the raw edges. You don't need a serger. You can do everything with a sewing machine. You can make it out of quilting cotton, which I've done with this one, or you can make it out of canvas, which I've done with this one. You do need interfacing and then like a fat quarter for the lining. But it's great because all of those materials you use are easy to find and you might already have them in your stash. You can use really fun prints and colors to make the hat, just really have lots of personality. I can't wait to show you how to make this hat. So let's get started. For this project, you're going to need about a half yard of either canvas or quilting cotton. I have used both with great results. And then you're going to need a fat quarter of quilting cotton for the lining. You can get the free pattern for all of the different sizes on my blog. The link is in the description. And then once you have all of the pieces cut out, the brim, the crown, and the side, all of the outer pieces, like cut from the outer fabric, needs to be interfaced with a medium weight interfacing. I have already cut out all my pattern pieces and interfaced them to keep this video a little bit shorter. Take the outer and the lining side pieces and see how there is a slight curve. You are going to match up the short seams, the side seams together and pin those. Then you're going to sew each seam with 3/8 inch seam allowance and make sure you back stitch when you start and when you stop. Once the sides are done, you can press these seams open on both the lining and the outer fabric. On the outer fabric, I like to add top stitching 1/8 inch from the edge around this seam to keep that open. I do not do it to the lining, I just do it to the outer side piece. Now you're going to take both side pieces and crown pieces and you are going to match up the crown inside the shorter, like the top of the side, the inner circle. You're going to match up these two side notches with the side seams and pin these together. Then you're going to go around and pin this together and we're going to do the same to this crown and side here. Now I have pressed this seam towards the crown so that everything is pressed inside. For the lining, I'm not going to do any top stitching, but I am going to sew around the hem 3/8 inch as a guide for a step that we have later. And then for the outer fabric, since everything is pressed in towards the crown, I'm going to go around and edge stitch this seam to keep all of that fabric flat and towards the crown. Take your 4 brim pieces, and if you have kind of a big print, I like to make sure that when I look at these short ends, these side seams, that like the print isn't the same. Like I wouldn't want to put this together and have these 2 butterflies right next to each other. That doesn't really matter, it's just a personal preference for me. So what you're going to do, you're going to place them right sides together, match up those short ends for both brims and pin them together. Now you're going to sew each of these seams with a 3/8 inch seam allowance and back stitch when you start and when you stop. Once you have the brim sewn, you are going to press these seams open, just like this, and then you are going to top stitch around this seam 1/8 inch from the edge to keep that seam allowance flat and open, and it adds a nice top stitching detail to the hat that it looks nice when the hat is done. So now take your 2 brim pieces, place them right sides together. You're going to match up the side seams so that they are laying on top of each other. And then we are going to pin this whole outer circle together. And then you're going to sew that seam with a 3/8 inch seam allowance all the way around. Once you have the brim sewn, you're going to take some picking shears, or you can even just cut notches with scissors, and we're going to do this to reduce the bulk when you turn the brim right side out. Now you're going to turn the brim right side out. You're going to have to kind of push out that outer edge of the brim. Now you're going to take it and press it so the edges are nice and crisp and flat. Now you're going to take this, you're going to edge stitch about 1/4 inch away all the way around the edge of the brim. So now the top part of the hat is done and the brim is done, and we are going to sew these pieces together. You're going to match up these side seams with the side seams of the brim and choose which side of the brim that you think is better. So I'm going to do this side. So pin that all the way around. Now you're going to sew this seam with a 3/8" seam allowance. Once the top is sewn to the brim, you're going to take some scissors and you're just going to clip around, it's about every inch, and you're just clipping into the seam allowance to kind of open the seam allowance up for the next step. Now the last step, you are going to push the lining so that the right side is on the inside, and you're going to push it inside the hat, like the top part of the hat. You're lining up these side seams here, and this stitching line that we previously did is to help us see where to fold this lining, and then you're going to line up that stitching line with this stitching line here and pin this lining in place just like this, and you're making sure that the seam allowance is of the hat, like the outer fabric, is all pushed up inside. We're going to do that all the way around. Now that the lining is pinned in, you're going to come to the outside of the hat, and you are going to sew, like stitch in the ditch, or even 1/8 inch towards the side, away from this seam, if you want to have that top stitching look like we have on the top. And you're going to sew all the way around the side of the hat to secure that lining inside. Once you have that sewn, you can take out the pins, and your hat is now finished. You have a great lining, so you don't have any exposed seams. And that's how you make a bucket hat or a sun hat with a free sewing pattern. I can't wait to see all of the hats that you make. Please share them with me on social media. Check out these playlists with beginner sewing projects and summer sewing projects. And I hope you have a wonderful day.